My mom lured me into a family meeting. When I arrived, lawyers were waiting, ready to force me to sign everything over. I smiled and counted them. 1, 2, 3. Then I said calmly, "Funny thing is, I only brought one person." I walked into the private dining room at Hartley's restaurant expecting brunch. Instead, I found 5 people, a stack of legal documents, and a trap. The room was ice cold, not from the AC, but from the energy. No menus on the table, no silverware, no water glasses, just white tablecloth, harsh overhead lighting, and a man in a charcoal suit staring at me like I was a problem that needed solving. "Michael, honey, you made it!" My mother stood up, arms outstretched. Her smile was pageant perfect. Her eyes were not. "Come sit down. We need to talk about what's fair." I'm Michael Garrett, 28 years old. I work in cybersecurity for a mid-sized tech firm. I spend my days identifying phishing scams, social engineering attacks, and digital traps designed to look legitimate. I know a shakedown when I see one. "Who's this?" I asked, staying on my feet, my hand still on the door handle. "This is Daniel Pritchard," Mom said, gesturing to the suit. "He's a family law attorney helping us navigate your father's estate. Make sure everything is handled properly." "I thought we were having waffles." "We need to settle this first, Michael," my stepfather Victor cut in. He sat at the head of the table like it was his boardroom. "For the family, for everyone's peace of mind." I looked around the table, really looked. My mother, Catherine, hands folded like a judge, lips pressed in that way that meant she'd already decided the outcome. Victor, 53, real estate developer who'd been between projects for 2 years. Expensive watch, impatient energy. My half-siblings, Amber, 19, and Tyler, 17, scrolling their phones like this was just another boring family obligation. And the lawyer, Daniel Pritchard, mid-40s, crisp suit that probably cost $3,000. Briefcase open on the table, papers arranged in neat stacks. "Please sit," Pritchard said. His voice was smooth, professional, the kind of tone that made threats sound like suggestions. "We've prepared documents that will make this process much simpler for everyone." I pulled out a chair, didn't sit. "What documents?" He slid a bound folder across the table toward me. "This is a family settlement agreement. It redistributes your father's estate into a shared family trust, ensuring equitable distribution among all parties." I picked it up, flipped through it. Legal language designed to confuse, but numbers don't lie. They wanted 65% of everything my father left me. $1.2 million in savings and investments. The house in Monterey, his vintage record collection. The 67 Mustang he'd been restoring. All of it split into a family trust where my mother would be the trustee. And if I don't sign, the smiles vanished. Pritchard leaned forward. "Then things get complicated. Very complicated. Estate litigation is expensive. Easily $200,000 in legal fees. We can tie this up in probate for 3 to 5 years. By the time it's resolved, legal costs will have consumed nearly half the estate's value." "We don't want to do that to you," Mom added, reaching for my hand. I pulled it back. "But we'll do what's necessary to protect this family." My heart was pounding. My hands wanted to shake, but I heard my father's voice in my head, that calm, steady tone he used when teaching me to debug code. "Check your data. Know your leverage. Never negotiate when you don't understand the system." I looked around the table again, counted. 1, I said, pointing to Mom. 2, to Victor. 3, 4, to Amber and Tyler. 5, to Pritchard. "What are you doing?" Mom snapped. "Counting," I said. "You brought 5 people to intimidate one. We're presenting a united front," Victor said. "This is what families do." I smiled. "Funny thing is, I only brought one person too." I pulled out my phone, typed a single text. "They're all here. Come on in." Mom's face went pale. "What did you just do?" "Leveled the playing field." My father, Richard Garrett, was a software engineer who drove a 2008 Honda Civic until it literally wouldn't start anymore. Then he bought a 2010 Honda Civic, cash. He packed leftovers in Tupperware containers, fixed his own plumbing, wore the same rotation of polo shirts for 15 years, kept his money quiet, in savings accounts and index funds, not driveways and vacation photos. My mother wanted noise. The gated community with the golf course, the leased Mercedes, the Instagram-perfect vacations to Cabo and Napa, the friends who measured worth in square footage and school district rankings. When I was 15, they divorced. California is a community property state. Everything got split down the middle. Mom took her half, roughly $400,000, and immediately upgraded her life. Married Victor 18 months later. Had Amber a year after that, Tyler 2 years later. The do-over family, the one that was supposed to work this time. I stayed with Dad, not because Mom didn't want me, but because she didn't want the life Dad represented. Quiet, simple, unglamorous. Dad and I lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in Monterey. We had Friday night tacos, Saturday morning lessons on compound interest and index fund allocation, Sunday afternoons restoring the Mustang in the garage, talking about everything and nothing. "You don't owe anyone your future," he told me when I was 17, teaching me about estate planning. "Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they own your life. You protect what you build." He made me the sole beneficiary of his estate when I turned 21. Put everything in an irrevocable trust with me as the beneficiary. Told me, "This is yours. Not negotiable. Not up for debate. Yours." "What about Mom?" I'd ask. "She got her share in the divorce. This is different. This is what I built after. For you. When Dad passed away 3 months ago, ago. Sudden cardiac arrest at 54, no warning. Mom showed up at the funeral in a black veil, weeping about the love of her life. She hadn't loved him in 13 years. She loved what he represented, what she could take. The morning after the funeral, Dad's attorney, Elena Vance, met me at a coffee shop downtown. Elena was 56, sharp-eyed, with gray hair cut in a precise bob. She'd been Dad's estate attorney for 12 years, specialized in asset protection and trust law. Your father was very clear, she said, sliding documents across the table. Everything goes to you. The trust is irrevocable. That means it cannot be changed, challenged, or dissolved without your explicit consent. What about my mom? What about her? Does she have any claim? Elena's expression was neutral, professional. She received her community property settlement in the divorce. This estate consists entirely of assets your father accumulated after the divorce was finalized. She has no legal claim whatsoever. She's going to ask. She already did. Elena pulled out her phone, scrolled, showed me an email. She contacted me 4 hours after your father passed, before the coroner had even completed the report. The email subject line, Richard Garrett Estate. Immediate questions. My stomach turned. What did you tell her? That I represent the estate and the beneficiary, you. That all questions should be directed through proper legal channels. That the trust documents are clear and legally binding. She's not going to accept that. No, Elena agreed. She's not. Which is why I'm telling you now, do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything. Do not have conversations about the estate without me present. Your mother will try to make this about family, about fairness, about what your father would have wanted. Don't engage. Got it. Elena handed me her card. Call me, anytime, day or night. If she pressures you, if anyone pressures you, call me immediately. The pressure started 3 days after the funeral. Mom texted, we need to talk about your father's estate. There are expenses, funeral costs, outstanding bills. We need to coordinate. I forwarded it to Elena. She replied, do not respond. I'm handling all estate expenses through the trust. She has no legal obligation or authority here. Then came the calls. Michael, honey, we need to discuss finances. This is complicated. There are tax implications, legal requirements. We should work together on this. Elena's handling it, Mom. Elena doesn't understand the family dynamics. This isn't just about paperwork. This is about doing right by everyone. Dad left clear instructions. Your father wasn't thinking clearly when he made those decisions. He was emotional, reactive. He didn't understand the whole picture. The trust is irrevocable. Trusts can be modified. With the right legal approach, Mom, I'm not discussing this. Why are you being so difficult, so greedy? That word, greedy. Because I wanted to keep what my father left me. I hung up. 2 weeks later, I got the email. Subject, Family Summit, required attendance. Michael, we need to have a family meeting to discuss your father's estate and ensure fair distribution among all affected parties. This is not optional. Legal counsel will be present to facilitate the discussion. Sunday, March 12th, 10:03 a.m. Hartley's Restaurant, private dining room, B. Please arrive on time. We've arranged brunch. This needs to be handled as a family. Mom, I stared at the email. Family Summit. Required attendance. Not optional. Every word designed to create pressure, obligation, guilt. I forwarded it to Elena. She called me 90 seconds later. Don't go, she said immediately. I have to. Michael, if I don't go, they'll say I'm being unreasonable, difficult, that I'm not willing to even discuss things. It'll give them ammunition for whatever legal action they're planning. Elena was quiet. Then, if you're going, I'm going. Will they let you in? They invited legal counsel. They just assumed it would be theirs. I heard papers rustling. What time? 10 a.m. Sunday. I'll meet you there at 9:45 a.m. We go in together. You don't say anything without checking with me first. Clear? Clear. Michael. Her voice was serious, heavy. This is going to be ugly. They're going to try to intimidate you, make you feel like you're being selfish, like you're hurting the family. You need to be ready. I am. Are you? I thought about Dad, about Friday tacos and Saturday lessons, about the way he'd taught me to see through social engineering attacks in the digital world. This was just another phishing scam, just another trap designed to look legitimate. Yeah, I said. I am. The days leading up to Sunday were a masterclass in psychological warfare. Mom texted daily. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. Victor called, trying the reasonable approach. Look, Michael, I get it. You're emotional. Your father just passed. But we need to think about this practically. There are expenses, responsibilities. We're family. We handle these things together. Elena's handling the estate. Elena doesn't care about this family. She cares about billing hours. She was Dad's attorney for 12 years. And now she's your attorney. Do you see the conflict of interest? She makes more money the longer this drags out. I hung up. Amber texted, why are you being such an asshole? Mom is literally crying every day because of you. Tyler sent, just give us what we're owed and stop being selfish. I didn't respond to either. Elena sent me a document to review. Estate distribution analysis. Garrett Trust. 43 pages of legal analysis breaking down exactly what my father's estate consisted of, how the trust was structured, and what legal challenges could theoretically be mounted. The conclusion, no viable legal challenge exists given the irrevocable nature of the trust and the clear testamentary intent. Any litigation would be frivolous and likely result in sanctions against the plaintiffs. Friday night, 2 days before the meeting, I got a voicemail from Pritchard. Michael, this is Daniel Pritchard. I've been retained trained by your mother to help facilitate estate discussions. I want to assure you this Sunday's meeting is designed to be collaborative, not adversarial. We're all on the same team here, looking forward to a productive conversation. I saved the voicemail, sent it to Elena. She replied, "Classic. They're trying to sound reasonable while setting up an ambush. Stick to the plan." Saturday night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my apartment, the same studio I'd lived in since graduating college, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what my father would say. He'd taught me to recognize patterns, to see through surface-level presentations to the underlying intent. When someone sends a phishing email, they don't write, "This is a scam." They write, "Verify your account," or "Urgent security alert," or "You've won a prize." They use authority, urgency, and fear to bypass your rational defenses. This family summit was the same thing. Authority, legal counsel present, official documents, professional setting, urgency, required attendance, time pressure. This needs to be settled. Fear, legal fees will eat half the estate. Do you want to destroy this family? All designed to make me sign something I shouldn't sign, but I had something they didn't expect. I had Elena. Sunday morning, I arrived at Hartley's at 9:47 a.m. Elena was already there, standing by her car in the parking lot. She wore a navy suit, carried a leather briefcase, and looked like she'd walked out of a courtroom drama. "Ready?" she asked. "As I'll ever be." "Remember, you don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to justify your position. You don't have to defend yourself. The law is on your side. The trust is ironclad. They have nothing. Then why are we here? Because they're going to try to make you feel like the law doesn't matter. Like family obligation supersedes legal rights. Like you owe them something." She met my eyes. "You don't." We walked in together. The hostess looked confused when I asked for the private dining room. "Are you with the Garrett party?" "I am. They said only family." "I'm his attorney," Elena said smoothly. "Estate counsel. We're expected." The hostess nodded uncertainly, led us through the restaurant to a private room in the back. Elena paused at the door. Last chance to walk away. "Let's do this." She opened the door. The temperature drop was immediate. 5 faces turned toward us. 5 expressions shifted from confident to confused to angry in rapid succession. "Michael!" Mom recovered first. Stood up, arms out. "You're here! We can finally—" She saw Elena. "Who is this?" "Elena Vance," Elena said crisply. "Estate counsel for the trust of Richard Garrett and personal attorney for Michael Garrett." She looked at Pritchard. "Daniel, still drafting those creative family settlement agreements?" Pritchard's jaw tightened. "Elena, I didn't realize you'd be joining us. You invited legal counsel." Elena pulled out a chair next to me, sat, set her briefcase on the table with a thud. "I'm legal counsel. This is a family matter," Victor said. "We don't need outside interference. I represent the estate and the beneficiary. Nothing about this is outside." Elena opened her briefcase, pulled out her own stack of documents. "Now, what exactly are we discussing?" Mom's face flushed. "We're discussing fair distribution of Richard's estate. As his family, his ex-wife," Elena corrected, "who received her community property settlement 13 years ago. I was married to him for 20 years and divorced from him for 13. Your marriage ended. Your claim to his assets ended with it. That's not fair." Mom's voice rose. "He built that life with me. My support, my sacrifices. You were compensated for those contributions in the divorce settlement," Elena said calmly. She pulled out a document. "Filed with the Superior Court of California, County of Monterey, April 2012. Total settlement, $427,000 plus half the equity in the marital home. Signed by both parties. Finalized." She slid it across the table. Mom stared at it. "That was different. That was then. That was the legal conclusion of your financial relationship with Richard Garrett." Pritchard tried to intervene. "Elena, we're not here to litigate the past. We're here to find an amicable solution to—" "There's nothing to solve," Elena cut in. "Richard's estate was placed in an irrevocable trust in 2017, with Michael as the sole beneficiary. The trust documents are clear, legally binding, and non-negotiable. Trusts can be challenged," Pritchard said. "On what grounds?" "Undue influence, lack of capacity, failure to provide for family members." Richard was 54 when he died. Sound mind. No indication of diminished capacity. He was advised by counsel, me, when establishing the trust. His intent was clear and documented. Elena pulled out another document. "Here's his letter of intent, filed with the trust in 2017. Would you like me to read the relevant section?" Pritchard went quiet. Elena read anyway. "It is my express wish and intent that all assets held in this trust pass exclusively to my son, Michael Richard Garrett, upon my passing. I have provided for my former spouse through our divorce settlement. I have no legal or moral obligation to provide further for her or her subsequent family. This trust reflects my wishes and should be executed as written without modification or challenge." The room went silent. Mom's face crumbled. "How could he say that?" "Because it was true," I said quietly. "We're struggling." She turned to me, tears starting. "Victor's business failed. We've got medical bills, Amber's college tuition. We need this money, Michael. That's not my responsibility. We're family." "You divorced that responsibility." Victor stood up. "This is bullshit. You're sitting on over $1 million while your mother and siblings are barely scraping by. What kind of person does that?" Elena answered before I could. "The kind of person who respects his father's wishes and understands the law." "We'll sue," Victor said. "We'll tie this up in court for years. Please do. Elena smiled. It wasn't friendly. I'll countersue for frivolous litigation under California Code of Civil Procedure Section 128.5. I'll seek attorney's fees, costs, and sanctions. I'll ask the court to award damages from your personal assets for knowingly pursuing a baseless claim. We don't have... Victor stopped, went red. That's right, Elena said softly. You don't have assets, do you? You have debt. The house is underwater. The cars are leased. Your business ventures failed. You've been living on credit cards and your wife's emotional manipulation of her son. How dare you? Mom started. I dare because it's true, and because I've watched you pressure Michael for 3 months. I've seen the texts, the calls, the emotional blackmail, the threats. Elena pulled out her phone, started scrolling. March 4th. If you do this, you'll destroy this family. March 9th. Your father would be ashamed. March 11th. You're being greedy and selfish. She looked up. Want me to keep reading? Mom's mouth opened, closed. No words came. Here's reality, Elena said, her voice hardening. Richard Garrett left everything to his son. That is his right. That is the law. There is no family pot. There is no obligation to redistribute. There's no viable legal challenge. She picked up the family settlement agreement Pritchard had prepared, dropped it in the trash can next to the table. The thud echoed. This document is worth less than the paper it's printed on. It attempts to coerce a legal beneficiary into surrendering assets he's legally entitled to through intimidation and false claims of family obligation. She looked at Pritchard. If you file any motion based on this meeting, I'll report you to the state bar for attempted fraud. Pritchard closed his laptop, didn't speak. Elena stood. We're done here. Michael, let's go. I stood with her. Wait, Mom grabbed my arm. Please, just listen. We're desperate. We need help. You have so much. Can't you spare something? Anything? I looked at her hand on my arm, at her face, makeup running from tears, at Victor behind her, jaw clenched, at my half-siblings, finally looking up from their phones, expressions confused and resentful. You had 20 years with Dad, I said. 20 years to build something, to plan, to save. You chose to spend it. You chose to leave. You chose Victor. You chose this life. That's not... You got $427,000 in the divorce. Where did it go? Silence. The Mercedes. The house you couldn't afford. The vacations. The keeping up with the Joneses. You spent it, Mom. You spent it on looking successful instead of being stable. I was building a life. You were building an image. I pulled my arm free. Dad built security. He built stability. He built something that would last. And he left it to me because he knew I'd respect it, honor it, not blow it on appearances. So you're just going to abandon us? Her voice broke. Your own mother? You abandoned me when I was 15. You chose a new family, a new life. You got your do-over. This is mine. I walked to the door. Elena followed. Behind us, I heard Victor. You're making a mistake, kid. We'll make your life hell. I stopped, turned. No, I said calmly. You'll try. You'll file motions that get dismissed. You'll rack up legal fees you can't afford. You'll waste time and energy on a fight you can't win. And at the end of it, you'll have nothing except the same debt you started with and a legal record of trying to defraud me. We're not. You are. That's exactly what this is. And Elena's going to make sure everyone knows it. Elena nodded. First thing Monday morning, I'm filing a motion to enjoin any future estate challenges. We'll put on record every threat, every attempt at coercion, every instance of harassment. If any of you contact Michael again regarding the estate, we'll pursue restraining orders. You can't, Mom started. I absolutely can. And I will. Elena held up her phone. I have 3 months of documentation, texts, emails, voicemails, all of it showing a pattern of harassment and attempted coercion. Want to test me? No one answered. Elena opened the door. Come on, Michael. We left. The parking lot was sunny, quiet. The air felt lighter. I took a deep breath, felt my hands shaking with adrenaline. You okay? Elena asked. Yeah, I think so. That was well done. You held your ground. They're going to keep trying, maybe, but every attempt just builds our case, and they can't afford to keep fighting. They're broke, Michael. Actually broke. That's why they're desperate. Is it true what you said about filing motions? Every word. I'll have everything filed by Monday afternoon. After that, they touch you. They're in contempt. I nodded. Felt exhaustion settling in. Want some advice? Elena asked. Always. Change your number. Block them on social media. Set up a P.O. box for any legal correspondence. Create distance. Let the law do its job. And then you honor your father's legacy. You use what he left you wisely. You build the life he wanted you to have. The stable one. The secure one. The one that isn't built on appearances and debt. I thought about Dad. About Friday tacos and compound interest lessons. About the way he'd lived quietly, securely, deliberately. That's the plan, I said. Monday morning, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Pritchard. Your mother asked me to reach out. She wants to apologize, to talk. No lawyers, just family. I forwarded it to Elena. She replied, document it. Don't respond. He's trying to circumvent the legal boundaries we established. 10 minutes later, Elena sent another message. Motion filed, injunction in place. If he contacts you again, screenshot it and send immediately. We'll pursue sanctions. I blocked the number. Over the next 2 weeks, the attempts continued, each one more desperate than the last. Tyler texted from a friend's phone. Mom is literally having a breakdown because of you. Amber sent an Instagram DM. Hope you're happy destroying your family. family. Victor's brother, someone I'd met once at a wedding 7 years ago, called. Your mother is in a bad place. She needs help. Family helps family. I documented everything. Sent it all to Elena. She compiled it into a harassment dossier, filed supplemental motions, sent cease and desist letters to every person who contacted me. The attempts stopped. 3 months later, I met with a financial advisor, Patricia Reeves, 23 years in wealth management, specialized in inheritance planning and generational wealth preservation. Your father built an impressive portfolio, she said, reviewing the trust documents. Conservative investments, diversified holdings, very deliberate growth strategy. He was careful and smart. At your current age, with proper management, this trust could grow to over $3 million by the time you're 50, potentially more if you continue contributing. What should I do with it? What do you want to do? I thought about that, about Dad's Honda Civic and packed leftovers, about compound interest and stability. I want to keep living my life, working, contributing. I don't want to blow this on stupid things. Patricia smiled. Then we set up a structured distribution. You take a modest annual allowance, say $40,000, enough to improve your quality of life without changing it fundamentally. The rest stays invested, compounds, grows. That's it. You work your job, you live your life, and when you're ready, maybe when you want to buy a house or start a business or have kids, you have resources available, but you don't become dependent on them. Dad would like that. I think he would. 6 months after the meeting at Hartley's, I bought a modest house in Monterey. 3 bedrooms, single-car garage, nothing fancy, but it was mine. I hired a contractor to finish restoring Dad's Mustang, the one we'd been working on together. It took 4 months and $18,000, but when it was done, it ran perfectly. I kept my job, kept my life simple. Started dating someone I met at a friend's barbecue, a teacher named Rachel who drove a beat-up Subaru and thought fancy restaurants were overrated. On Fridays, we had tacos. On Saturdays, I taught her about index funds. On Sundays, we worked on the house together. I thought about Dad constantly, about what he'd taught me, about what he'd protected me from. 1 year after the meeting, I got a letter. Not from Mom, not from Victor, not from the lawyers, from Tyler. Michael, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. I know I said some really messed up things. I'm sorry. I'm 18 now, living on my own, working part-time and taking community college classes. I moved out because I couldn't watch Mom and Victor destroy themselves anymore. You were right about everything. They spent all the divorce money. They lived on credit. They thought your grandpa's money would save them. When it didn't, they fell apart. I don't want anything from you. I'm not asking for money or help. I just wanted you to know that I get it now. You weren't being selfish. You were being smart. Dad, Richard, he tried to teach me something once. When I was 12, he took me to a hardware store and showed me the difference between cheap tools and quality tools. He said, buy quality once or buy cheap forever. I didn't understand what he meant. I do now. Anyway, I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're living the life Grandpa wanted for you. Tyler. I read the letter 3 times, showed it to Rachel. What do you think? I think he's figuring it out. Should I respond? Do you want to? I thought about Tyler, about how he'd been raised, about what he'd seen, about the lessons he'd learned, and the ones he was still learning. Yeah, I said. I do. I wrote back. Not a long letter. Nothing dramatic. Tyler, thanks for reaching out. Takes guts to admit you were wrong. Your grandpa, my dad, would be proud that you're working and going to school, that you're building something stable instead of chasing appearances. If you ever need advice, not money, just advice, I'm here. That's what families should actually do. Teach, guide, support the right choices. Good luck with school. Michael. I sent it. Didn't expect a response. But 2 weeks later, Tyler texted, can I ask you something about student loans? I called him. We talked for an hour. I explained how financial aid works, how to minimize debt, how to think long-term instead of immediate. It wasn't money. It wasn't a rescue. It was something better. It was a lesson. 2 years after the meeting at Hartley's, I got an email from Pritchard. Subject, voluntary dissolution, Garrett estate litigation. Michael, please be advised that Catherine Garrett and Victor Reese have voluntarily withdrawn all claims against the estate of Richard Garrett and the Garrett Family Trust. All pending motions have been dismissed. No further legal action is planned or authorized. This matter is now closed. Daniel Pritchard, Escarral. I forwarded it to Elena. She called immediately. Well, that's that. Why now? Because they're out of money, out of options, and out of patience. They finally accepted reality. Did you have to do anything? Nope, they folded on their own. Probably got tired of their own lawyer telling them they had no case. She paused. How do you feel? Relieved, tired, a little sad. Sad? That it took 2 years for them to figure out what Dad knew all along, which is that you can't bully people into giving you what you didn't earn. Elena laughed. Your father was a smart man. Yeah, he was. I never heard from Mom again, not directly, but through Tyler, who I talked to every few months, I learned pieces. She and Victor got divorced. She moved into a small apartment, got a job as an office manager, sold the Mercedes, bought a used Toyota. Amber graduated college with $80,000 in student loans, blamed me for not helping, stopped talking to Tyler when he wouldn't take her side. Victor's new business venture failed. He moved to Arizona, started over. Mom sent one message through Tyler. Tell Michael I understand why he did what he did. Tell him his father raised him right. I didn't respond. Didn't need to. I'm 32 now, still living in Monterey, still working in cybersecurity, still driving the restored Mustang on weekends. Rachel and I got married last year. Small ceremony, her family, Tyler, a few close friends. Elena came, Patricia came, the people who actually mattered. We're expecting our first kid in September, a boy. We're naming him Richard. Sometimes I think about that meeting at Hartley's, about walking into that trap, about counting the people at the table, about the look on their faces when Elena walked through the door. I think about what Dad taught me, about recognizing patterns, about understanding systems, about knowing when someone is trying to social engineer you into making a bad decision. That's all that meeting was. A phishing attempt, just another scam designed to look legitimate. And like any good cybersecurity professional, I knew the answer. Verify, document, don't click. My name is Michael Garrett. 4 years ago, my mother tried to trick me into signing away my inheritance. She brought lawyers, my stepfather, my half-siblings, and a stack of documents designed to intimidate me into compliance. She thought I was alone, vulnerable, easy to manipulate. She was wrong, because my father didn't just leave me money. He left me something more valuable. The knowledge that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by who teaches you to stand on your own, who protects what you've built, who respects your boundaries even when it costs them something. Mom wanted me to choose family over fairness. I chose the family that actually showed up, and in the end, that made all the difference. 3 months ago, I got a package in the mail. No return address, postmarked from Sacramento. Inside was a photo, old, faded, from when I was 6 years old. Dad and me in the garage, working on some ancient lawnmower, both of us covered in grease, both smiling. On the back, in Mom's handwriting, he always knew what you'd become. I framed it, put it in my son's nursery, because Dad was right. Not about the money, not about the trust, not about the inheritance, about the lesson. You don't owe anyone your future. You protect what you build. And sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone is teaching them when to say no. I'll teach my son the same thing. Not with legal documents or trust funds, with Friday tacos, Saturday lessons, Sunday projects in the garage. The legacy isn't the money, it's knowing when to walk away and having the courage to do it.